When growing bonsai, we're always looking for ways to add character and age to our trees. Deadwood is an excellent way to do this. But how do you make sure that your deadwood does not become a dead tree, a nightmare? How do you treat deadwood so that it survives longer than normal and you don't end up creating a nightmare? I have 6 ways that you can deal with your deadwood. Number 1, the simplest of them all, do nothing. When it comes to dealing with deadwood, there are a number of streams of thought. One of the streams of thought is just let nature do its thing. Look at this bearberry stump here. This has decayed naturally. I haven't done all that much. I've pulled a few bits and pieces off, but basically this is natural. And I'm letting the same happen here. I do this because I know that the species does not fall apart when it rots away. The outer hull that's still alive will probably be alive, even if I don't do anything. But if you don't pay attention, of course, that is because this species is quite stable. It rots away, but the outer hull will stay alive. Pay attention, this is not a nice tree. In fact, if you look carefully at this hibiscus, you'll see there's mushrooms growing everywhere from the trunk. That means that the dead part of the trunk is now being decomposed by fungi. Not a great prospect because this species doesn't handle that all that well. I am a little bit concerned that this tree might completely hollow out and then die off. Number 2, something everybody has in their house. Wood glue. Yes, that's absolutely true. Just regular wood glue, especially if you take the one for outside use, so water resistant, can be used to cover that wood and make it more water resistant. I don't really use it, so I don't have a lot of experience, but I know a lot of people do use it. If you use it on dry wood and not on wet wood. So make sure you put the plant somewhere out of the rain for a couple of weeks so that that wood can dry out and use. And this is then apparently quite effective. Number 3, something that everybody has in the house. A second glue. Okay, I have to admit a little bit, I am cheating with this little tube here. This is not the glue that you should be using. Look in the store for a glue that's called second glue or immediate glue. It's a material that you drip on the wood and every drop gets absorbed directly into the wood. Then you are left with just a tiny little piece of plastic and that will harden the wood. Note, this works only on dry wood. And it only is effective as deep as it penetrates into the wood. That is actually the truth for all of these materials that I use. The core of the wood is not protected. So over time still the wood will deteriorate. Where are we? 4. Do you oil your furniture? That's also an option. If you look at coniferous trees, and particularly if you look at picea or pines, what you can see is that on old cut sites there's a resin coming out. The sap of these trees is actually a natural conservative for the deadwood. This is what we try to emulate with using oil. It's very simple. It's the same as you do on any normal garden furniture. You let the wood dry out, you clean it, you take the oil and you rub it over the deadwood. That gets absorbed, and with that all the pores of the wood are filled with oil, water can't get in, and it's protected. It's quite simple. Of course, this needs to be repeated quite frequently because the oil does dry out and disappear from your wood. And one downside I find from this material, you can see it here already at the lid. In sun, it does get a different color. So if you add this to your deadwood, you run the risk that the deadwood gets a little bit more yellow. So I don't use it all this much. I keep using it for my tables. Number 5, Paraloid 72, plastic. A few years ago I was looking for something to do with a dead piece of juniper. The tree died, I worked it too hard and I decided that I wanted to fuse this with a young whip. Now this is called a tanuki, and a tanuki is also the Japanese word for trickster or fake. Effectively it is a fake bonsai that you are creating. The whole tree is dead and you take a young plant and you add it to the tree, and you do that by creating, basically you cut a channel in the tree where you want the living parts to be. You push the trunk in there and then you let it grow out. Naturally the roots will be here and they will be in the ground. So I was looking for something very substantial that could really make this waterproof for a very long time. What I found Paraloid 72. This is a plastic. It is used a lot in museum to conserve old pieces of wood. The nice thing about this material is you dissolve it That's not nice. But once you apply it to the wood and it dries, you actually don't see anymore that it has been applied. Well, look at this tree. Do you know where I applied it and not? Well, if you do, you're wrong. This is all that's left over of 2 liters of the stuff that I made. I have been soaking this for days in the fluid. So what happens? This stuff you buy in a store for museum articles, and it is dissolved in acetone. Yes, that's horrible stuff. So do it outside, wear the proper protection, use gloves, gummy gloves, and only work with it outside in a well-ventilated space because it's dangerous stuff to use with. Anyway, I made 2.5 liters of it and I put it in a bucket and I planted this completely in there and I let it suck it up. Basically the acetone goes into the branch, pulling the plastic in as well, and evaporates higher up, leaving the plastic behind. So this is basically just wood, completely plastified. And this is all that's left from 2 liters. You can see that also some of the natural conservatives in the plant have been left over, and I use this now every once in a while to repair rotten pieces of wood. Because that's also what you can use it for. If you have something that is already rotten, you let that dry out. And you know, it's very soft, right? You can push it and you take a knife, you push it through. If you add this to it, then it becomes as stable as normal wood. There is a lot of hollows in it, but it basically just becomes plastic. One little warning, you cannot change the look of the tree anymore. So if you want it to be bleached, or you want to carve it, or you want to work on the grain, it is a lot harder to do if this is already on. So first prepare your piece of Deadwood the way that you want it, then let that dry out completely, and then let this soak in. Simple. I don't know why I never made a tanuki out of it. I think it's just too big. And the all-time favorite, number 6. Yin fluid. Pines and junipers are often styled with extensive parts of deadwood. The deadwood is white, and this reflects the normal position of the plant. If it stands up high in the mountains, then the bark comes off and the old wood is bleached. Now we do this by applying yin liquid, or lime sulfur. This is what the word says. It's lime and sulfur cooked to a disinfectant. This product effectively works by stopping fungal infections taking hold on the tree. Fungi cannot grow in this material, so if you clean up your trunk, you add this, then for a very, very long time your trunk will stay stable. Some people say the white from this material is too white. This is what I use. I just use black ink. I have a little container. I add a few drops of black ink. I add a little bit of lime sulfur in another corner, and when I'm working on it, I just mix it and put it on so that the tree doesn't get all white. It just goes a lighter grey tone. Of course, you don't have to use it full strength. You can dilute it by 50%. Before application, I always clean the deadwood with a brush and a little bit of water so that most of the algae come off, and you can see the original color of the wood coming back a little bit. Apply the lime sulfur with a brush, and you can see this brush is worn down quite substantially. The stuff is very aggressive. Always make sure the wood is slightly moist before applying lime sulfur. So although the material is slightly red when you put it on, it will turn yellowish before it turns white. So don't be alarmed if you put it on and the deadwood becomes yellow before anything else. Of course, once you're done, make sure you take the brush and you clean it out very well, otherwise the brush is completely gone by the next day. Naturally, for many deciduous trees it's much better if you just let big cuts heal over and not create any deadwood. I know this is a disputed topic and I have a mixed feeling about deadwood on deciduous trees. Anyway, if you do want to close cuttings on deciduous trees, maybe take a look at this video. I'm Jelle, this is Growing Bonsai. Keep growing bonsai and see you later.